Hello and welcome. My name is Victoria Sithi, and I want to thank all of you for joining us here today for this live demo here at Pack Expo Connects. We wish we could talk to you face to face, and even though we can't, we appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you virtually. With me here today is Seth McNally. Hello, Seth.
Good morning, Victoria.
All right, and Seth is one of our senior regional managers here at Felins and is here to talk about packaging the packaging?
Correct, yeah, so it sounds odd at first. I think a lot of times people will think about just the B2B aspect of when they're actually seeing the box on the shelf, but there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes for it to then eventually be on the shelf for someone to purchase.
Awesome, so we're also going to be talking about how boxes can be packaged, correct?
Correct. So, what comes into play is you've got your corrugators out there that provide the paper. Eventually those get turned into boxes. So again, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that are happening before it gets to the customer who uses the box.
Awesome. I'm excited to explore this with you today. Before we get further into the discussion, there's a few housekeeping items I'd like to touch on. We do have a group chat as part of this live demo, so please feel free to comment and ask questions as we go. Our team will do our best to answer them as we go along. And if you need to duck out early but want to learn more, just type contact me in the group chat and someone will reach out to you. At the end of this discussion, our team will also include a link in the group chat for a video chat with Seth via Zoom, so that if you have additional questions, you can ask him after this live demo. All right. Where would you like to start, Seth?
Let's start with how the corrugate boxes are actually packaged.
Okay.
So really there's two traditional ways when you're looking at packaging the boxes. So you've got your conventional strap. It's been around forever. For those unfamiliar, it's a rigid plastic strap. Very thin that comes down around the boxes. And then there's also the concept of actually just taking the boxes and putting them into a box as well.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the first method that you mentioned, strapping. Could you elaborate on that one a little bit?
Yeah, so, strapping's been around forever. I would say the vast majority of people that are making boxes actually strap them. It makes a lot of sense if you're using brown boxes. There's not a lot of cost associated with the standard brown box. I think, oftentimes if there's damage to it, it's just thrown away. Not a lot of cost involved with it. The issues with strapping come into play when it's more of a high-end graphic box. So we've made a lot of advancements in printing technology where you can print different really high graphics directions on boxes. Strapping can often damage those, which the customer obviously doesn't want that. The other option is to box the boxes. So, obviously those that are creating the boxes can just place them in there, it protects them, and they ship them out from there.
Okay, and then with strapping boxes, what does the damage entail?
Yeah, so there's really, if we focus on strapping first, really it's going to be corner edge damage. So, conventional strappers oftentimes don't have a lot of tension control. What it's going to do is come down on the box and actually on the side of it make an indentation. That rigid plastic strap is almost grabbing onto the box and poking into it. The issue there is the next stage of the process, oftentimes those boxes go into a box erector. If there are those scores on the boxes, oftentimes that's going to cause an issue with the box erector. The other type of damage is what we call just simple scratching or denting. So brown boxes, not a huge issue with it. But again, if you've got a 50-cent box to a couple dollar box, as those are transported, if that rigid plastic strap is moving along the top of each or bottom of each bundles, then it's going to damage the box as well.
Wow, so it really does have an effect on a lot of different things.
Yes.
And so if I have an issue with strapping damaging my product or my boxes, what other options do I have?
Yeah, so I think traditionally what people will evaluate is, can I get rid of the strap altogether? So what that looks like often is, once the boxes are created, it's a flat stack. They'll try to palletize them, maybe put some shrink film around them. The other option obviously being, if you have the boxes, take them and just put them in another box.
Right, that seems reasonable. If I'm in the business of making boxes, then it would make sense for me to put my boxes in a box.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, as we look at it, if you're adding additional costs into the end of the production line, are there ways to eliminate that? So there's definitely additional costs with creating another box and then the labor aspect of putting all of those boxes into the box and sending it off to the customer.
Right. And what about sustainability?
Yeah, really. And then you think about, the tree aspect, everything else, you're having to use additional boxes. And then from the end customer perspective as well, they've got a next step in their process where they've got to take all of these boxes, break those down, and then put them into their recycling process as well.
Got it. And so basically we've just discussed many different ways that traditional bundling and packaging methods just aren't working. They seem to have a few disadvantages. What other options should we consider? Yeah,
so that's really what we focus on at Felins, is looking at a different way. Instead of strapping, we're going to band it. So banding is actually using a wider band. So instead of that rigid plastic strap that could actually cut into the edges, it's a little wider, so it's going to come down and create a bundle without that scoring on it.
Okay, and why do you call it ultrasonic banding?
Yes, it's an ultrasonic technology, and what that means is that there's no heat or friction involved. That's oftentimes how a traditional strapper will work. It's actually a cold seal, so it's clean, efficient, repeatable. This image actually shows a really good comparison of the strap to the band. You can see that the rigid plastic strap is more narrow. It's causing damage to the box, whereas the wider nature of the band lets us compress it without damaging the box.
Okay, and how wide is this band that we're looking at here?
So pretty conventional that we see within the corrugate industry is going to be a 30 millimeter wide band, which is about an inch, just over an inch. We can go up to 4 inches. We can even go down to 20 millimeters, which is just a little less than an inch.
Wow, okay, so a lot of variety there. And how else is banding different from strapping?
So if we look at, we looked in the picture in regards to the thinness, the thickness, things of that sort. Obviously the wider nature of this band, the biggest thing with this is being able to really compress the boxes without damage. So it's hard to see in this picture, but this is, again, the 30 millimeter band. It's a ribbon-like material that's very soft. The biggest thing with those high-end boxes, again, is being able to come down without any damage.
Got it. And I can see how the wider nature of the band works to prevent the corner damage that we saw earlier. But what about the damage that occurs during stacking from the seal area that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, so if we remember the image that we looked at before with the ultrasonic weld, the boxes are going to lay flat on that weld. So the issue with the strap is oftentimes what's happening, again, because it's rigid, is it's causing the scratching. With the ribbon-like material, think of almost like a gift wrap that you see on boxes.
Okay.
This is really soft in nature. It's a film that actually has air blown into it. So as this sits flat, we can stack as high as we want, and there's going to be none of the scratching or denting that you see with strapping.
Nice. Okay. And how strong is it then?
It's strong. It will get the job done on really any corrugate stack out there. In regards to being able to compress it and hold it together. Strapping obviously has its advantage in certain aspects, but this will get the job done.
Awesome. So can we technically apply more tension with strapping then?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, strapping can be used in a variety of different ways. Strapping is strong enough that it could oftentimes take things and strap them to a pallet, but a lot of times that's overkill. So I think, our focus is looking at the traditional way, and is there a way to eliminate some of the damage that's happening with it just by using a band.
Right. And I think we have a video that you brought
Yep.
that shows the compression of the boxes, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look.
I think the video is great. I mean, it's showing essentially how we're taking what would go into 2 boxes, compressing it by 50% to go into 1 box. So if you look at it from an overall shipping perspective, you're going to save a lot of shipping costs as well.
50% is impressive. And is there anything else that you'd like to cover?
Yeah, so I think we touched a little bit about the ribbon-like material. All the machines can be set up to run on a variety of different materials. You have the soft nature. A lot of people like this one because obviously it's cheap, looks nice as well, not going to damage the box. Brown paper, white paper, clear plastic. You can really print anything and everything on the band, your logo. Some people set it up with print mark registration. So a lot of different options when it comes specifically to the banding material.
Okay, and you mentioned print mark registration. So is there capabilities for traceability there?
Yeah, so a lot of times people will, whether it's a variable print like your logo, you can do inline printing as well. So if you wanted to put, lock codes or dates that it was packaged, things of that sort, you can actually do that in line with the systems as well.
That's great. And what does this equipment look like?
So, really to the untrained eye, it looks very similar to a strapping machine. A lot of times they both have arches. I think we've got a video here that actually shows some of our different standalone machines and then the pieces of automation as well.
Awesome. Let's take a look at the video. That video does a great job of showing the different types of machines that can be used for banding in the corrugate industry. I really like that. And what other types of applications would work well with banding?
Yeah, so we touched on it a little bit, but I think when it comes to banding, you're still going to have separation. If someone is, doing just brown boxes, strapping, like I mentioned before, is probably still going to be the way that you're going to go. Where banding comes into play is going to be with those, high litho laminate, high graphic boxes that have some more cost involved with them. Oftentimes they're called auto lock or auto bottom boxes. There's also the POP aspect of it, so point of purchase displays that are out there. If you're getting reports of damage, or if you're just looking for a different way to deliver it to your customer to say, hey, we're investing in this equipment, we want to make sure that you're getting all quality product all the time, then banding's really the play.
Fantastic. And lastly, what can our viewers do if they would like to see if this can work for their application?
Great question. So you can see some samples that are on the video. Pretty much on a daily basis, we get samples for different applications, but if you're curious, want to see how it works, send us your samples. We do a great job of actually processing them with, standalone. We do have some automation equipment as well, where we'll actually take your product, put it through the systems or the machine, show you the process, and then send it back so you can review it with your end customer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, Seth. This has been very informative. And unfortunately, we have to wrap up our discussion here shortly, but if you didn't get a chance to have your question answered in the group chat, just type contact me in the group chat and Seth will reach out to you. Right now, our team is posting a link for a live video chat with Seth via Zoom after this discussion, so you can hop on over there to ask him additional questions. Alternatively, you can also reach out to Seth via his virtual business card on our Pack Expo Connects page, and there's tons of great information on our website at felins.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.